Good afternoon to all the students. So in today's class we are going to start the new unit from our syllabus, that is unit 5. The unit 5 consists of two major parts. One is the templates and another one is the exception handling, right? So both the topics are very important with respect to object oriented programming systems. So these are the topics we are going to deal in this fifth unit. In the templates concept, we are going to discuss what this generic programming is and how this generic programming helps us in developing the templates, and what is the need for the template, what are the uses, and we have basically two types of templates. One is the function template and another one is class template. So we will see both the types of these templates, that is function template and class template, with programming examples, and finally we will discuss whether we can overload the template function or not. If we can overload the template function, then how we are going to overload it, and then we will discuss the differences between the templates and macros, and finally we will see two examples on this bubble sort and the linked list by using the templates, right? And in the second part, that is in the exception handling, we will discuss the major principles that are involved in the exception handling. What are the keywords that are involved, like try, throw and catch, and can we implement the program with multiple catch statements, and how to specify some exceptions. All these things we will discuss in the concept of exception handling, right? So let us start our discussion with generic programming with the templates. So before starting the discussion on this generic programming with templates, let me ask you a few questions. What is a function? What is a function?
Set of instructions, sir.
Okay, set of instructions, but what it is going to do? So you should define a function in such a way that it is a collection of statements which is capable of performing one task, right? So you are not just combining the different statements, you are combining the statements such that it will give some result. For example, if you want to add two integer numbers, you will write some set of statements such that the result will be the addition of two integers, right? So any function you take, it will have one output, right? So how many values can a function return?
One value, sir.
Only one value, right? And before discussing this generic programming concept, we should know what a function is, and we should also know what a function overloading is. So can anybody tell me what do you mean by function overloading? What do you mean by function overloading?
Same function performing different tasks.
Right. So it will have the same function name. But it is going to perform, or it is going to have different implementations, right? So for example, if I take the add as the function name, this add function can be used and it can be modified to add two integers. Similarly, the same add function can be used to add two floating point numbers, or the same add function can be used to add two strings. Like that, if you are making use of the same function but you are implementing it in different ways, then we call such type of concept as the function overloading. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
So we will see an example program on this function overloading. and then we'll discuss the concept. Then we'll slowly enter into the concept of generic programming along with templates, right? So in this example, I want to give you a program which is implementing the function overloading concept. Right. So you please help me. What is the first statement I should use?
Include iOS string.
Right. What is the next statement?
Using namespace std.
Okay. So let us not worry about the class things. We will first write the function. Here I want to implement a function called print. So what is the name of the function? What is the name of the function I want to implement? It is print, right? And since I am just printing it, it doesn't have any return type. So what should be the return type of the function?
Void,
right? And what is the name of the function I have told? It is print, right? And what this function has to do is it has to take one input from the user, and based upon the input it is going to print the corresponding statement, right? For example, if it takes the integer value, it has to print that it is a integer function. If it takes the double value, it should print that it is a double function. Like that, I just want to make use of a simple program, right? So how many parameters the print function is going to take?
One, sir.
Only one parameter, right? So I write like this, int x, and tell me the body of this function. I just want to print the simple statement that this function belongs to integer, right? I just want to print a statement. This is an integer function. Right. And I want to make use of the same function such that I change this code to double, and this is going to accept the double, and it is going to print that this is a double function, right? Again, I just want to repeat it with the character also. So I change the parameter as char ch, and I write it as this is a character function. Up to here you are clear, right?
Yes, sir.
So what is the name of the function I have used? How many functions are there here?
3 functions, sir.
3 functions. What is the name of the function?
Print, sir.
Print. So I am making use of the same print function in all the 3 functions, and I am just implementing different codes inside each and every function. So the first function takes the input as the integer, and it is going to print the statement as this is an integer function. And the second statement, second function is also the print function, but it is going to accept the double variable, and it is going to print the statement as this is a double function. And finally we have the third function, which is where the name is print, and it is going to accept one parameter which is a character, and it is going to print the statement as this is a character function, right? And what is that I have to write here? After 3 functions I should write the main function, right? Now I want to invoke the print function. How should I invoke it? What is the method you will use to invoke the function in any programming language? By making use of the no, here I am not making use of any objects. Forget about the classes and creation of objects. You forget everything, right? Did I include these functions inside the class?
No, sir.
No, right, then there is no need to create the objects. But my question here is, how can you invoke a function?
By calling them.
Super, right, by a function
Right,
call.
no function.
So I want to call a function. The name of the function is print, and as the print function is accepting 3 parameters, if I write or if I give the input as 10, which function is going to be invoked?
First one, sir.
It is going to invoke the first function, this one, right? Why? Because the input that I have given at the time of function call is 10, which is an integer value, and this particular function call is having a corresponding match for this function only. Therefore this will be invoked, and the statement this is an integer function is printed. Again I want to call the function with print function with some decimal values. Let us take it as some 20.75946. Now which function is going to be invoked? Is it the second function or the third
Second one,
function?
sir.
Second function.
Second function.
So how the function call is going to be mapped with the corresponding function definition means by looking at the signature. What do you mean by signature?
The function declaration, sir.
Right, the function declaration. Right, here we can say that by looking at the function header, the name of the function is print. Okay, I have 3 print functions, but out of these 3 print functions, which function is to be invoked will be decided by the return type as well as the parameter list. So in all the functions I have the return type as void. Again there is a confusion. So this time I will go for the parameter list. So in the parameter list, the user has given the input as the double variable. So I should invoke a function which is having the double as the input parameter. Right. So this is going to invoke the second function. Similarly, I want to call the third function also. This time I make it as a character. As you know that the character should be enclosed within single quotations, I have done it inside this A, right? So this particular function call is going to invoke the third function. Why? Because the input that is given by the user, that is the character A, is matching with the parameter of the third function only. Therefore it is going to invoke this function. So let us execute this one. You can see the output in the right hand side, right? So this is an integer function. Why? Because the first statement, the first function that is invoked is with an integer value. Therefore it is going to invoke the print function which is having the input as integer variable. The second function that I am invoking is with a double value. Therefore it is going to invoke the second function definition, this one. And the third function I have given the input as the character, and therefore it is going to invoke the third function. Is it clear up to this function, up to this point?
Yes, sir.
So this is how we are going to implement the function overloading. As you said that the function overloading is making use of the same function name but giving different implementation for the function body is called as the function overloading. Right. Here I have used the same name as print, but I have given different parameters for this print function. Therefore this is called a function overloading. How can you convert it into the class? Right, I want to implement it using classes. So what should I do? I have to put all these functions, print functions, inside a class. Let me call. Any doubt? Right. So let me call this class as demo, and I'm including all these functions inside this class. And you should be very careful that a class should always end with a semicolon. Right? Is it enough? Right?
No,
Is it enough that I put all the functions inside a class and I am going to invoke these functions? It is not possible. Why? Because all the functions are defined inside the class, therefore these functions belong to the class. So if I want to access the members of the class, I should make use of an object, right? Therefore I create an object for the class. What is the syntax for creating an object for the class?
Demo D.
Right, class name followed by object name. So here the my class name is demo, and let me take the object as dobj, right, d object. And what is the method that what is the syntax that you need to use to invoke the member function of a class or an object?
D dot function name, object
right.
name
Object name dot
name.
the function name. So the object that I have created here is dobj, and I am going to access all the three functions by using this function name, the object name followed by the dot operator. Right. Is it enough, or it will give any errors? Shall we execute this program?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Tell me, answer my question whether it is going to execute properly or it is going to give some errors. Let us see. Right. What is the error it is giving? Can you read this one?
Private access specifier.
Right,
Yes, sir.
right. So all these functions, I have not specified any access code for this one, right? So by default all these functions will be kept under which scope?
Private scope.
Private scope. And when you define or when you declare the members or the member functions under the private scope, it is impossible to access those member functions or data members outside the class. So I am trying to access the member functions which are private for this demo class by using the object that is from the outside of the class I am trying to access. So this will raise an error. So in order to avoid such type of problems, as I told that all the data members should be by convention, it is not a rule, right? The data members should be kept under private scope, whereas the member functions should be kept under the public scope. So I make these functions as public by making use of the public keyword. That's it. Now it will it execute or will it raise an error?
No, sir.
No errors.
Wonderful.
So it is going to access all the three functions, and if the input that is given by the user is 10, it is going to invoke the corresponding member function from the public member functions of the class demo, right? So this is the concept of the function overloading. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Right. And
Yes, sir.
one more thing, right? Let us modify these things. Let us write the add functions. I want to implement add function with 2 integers, and I want to return the result. Right. So what is the function that I have added here? Add function, right? And what is that it is going to do? It is taking 2 inputs, that is 2 integer values as the input, and it is going to return the addition of these 2 integer values as the output. Am I right or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now I just want to add one more function, the similar function I want to add, but this time I am not going to add 2 integer values. I am going to add 3 integer values. Is it a valid function? So I have taken the function name as add, and this function accepts three parameters x, y and z, which are integer data type, and I am taking r as one integer variable inside the function. I am just adding this x plus y plus z and storing the result inside this r, and I am just returning the r value, right? Can anybody tell me, is it the function overloading or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is a function overloading, right? So one more function I want to add, right? This time I want to make this add function to add two double numbers. Double is something like float, right? Don't get confused. Now how many functions I have?
3, sir.
3 functions. What is the name of all the 3 functions? It is add only, but it is going to have different return types and different number of parameters along with different number of different data types, right? So the third function and the second function are almost similar, but they just differ in the data type they are accepting and it is returning, right? So this is also an example of the function overloading. Now what is the modification that I should perform here? I just want to print this values. Let us see whether it will work or not, right? So I am creating an object dobj for the demo class, and I am just printing the output which is returned by this function. So here you can observe here that dobj dot add of 10 comma 20. So which function is going to be invoked? Is it the first function or second function or the third function?
First one.
First function.
First function.
Why? Because the number of parameters and the type of parameters for the first function is matching with this function call. Therefore, it is going to invoke the function definition, this function definition, right? Now let us write the same concept again. This time I am going to access now tell me which function is going to be invoked.
Third one, sir.
Third one. Why?
Second
Because
one.
the mapping of this parameters that is given by the user and the parameters which is defined inside the body of the function add is matching with this function only. Therefore, it is going to invoke this function, and the result we will get it as double only. Okay. Now let us do the same thing here. Here I am making use of 3 variables, right? Now tell me which function is going to be invoked.
Second one, sir.
Second one. Why? Because the number of parameters and the data type of the parameters is getting matched with the second definition only. Therefore, it is going to invoke this function, and we are going to get the result accordingly, right? So this is another example of the function overloading, right? And one simple question I want to ask. For example, listen, what is the modification that I have performed here? In the first function, add function, instead of returning the addition of 2 integer values, I am giving the result as the subtraction of 2 integer values. Now tell me, is it valid? Will it work properly or not? First question.
It will work, sir.
It will work. And is it valid or not? This is my second question.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is
Yes.
valid in C programming or C++ programming. But is it ethical or not?
No, sir.
It is not ethical, right? So even though you are getting the output where you are giving the name of the function as add, but you are implementing the subtraction, it is perfectly valid in any programming language, but it is not ethical from the programmer's point of view. So what experts say is the name of the function should reflect what it is going to implement. So the name of the function is add. So the code that should be written for this body of this add function should be the collection of statements which will add some 2 integer values or 3 integer values, whatever it may be. But it is ethical that you perform you add the statements which perform the addition of the variables, right? It is not ethical to make use of the subtraction or product or division, right? So the simple point you have to remember here is the experts always say that the name of the function should always reflect what it is going to do. So add means it is going to add, sub means it is going to subtract, factorial means it is going to find the factorial. Like that, you make a convention that the function name should always reflect the actual task it is going to perform, right? Up to here all the points are clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if you look at the programming example which we have discussed here, you forget about this second function. Let me delete it, right, so that you won't get any confusion. So how many functions I have right now?
2, sir.
2, sir.
functions.
2, sir.
Both of them are add only. Both of them are taking 2 variables as the input, right? And all the instructions that are present inside the body of the functions are almost similar except with the data type. Am I right or not? The first function is accepting the integer values and it is going to return the integer value, and the second function is almost similar, every statement is similar, but it is going to accept 2 double variables or double values and it is going to return the double value, right? So what is the difference that you have observed here? Everything is similar, right? The only difference is in the return type, or only difference is in the data type on which the function is operating, or it is in the data type on which the function is returning, right? The only thing that is going to be changed is the data type. Am I right or not?
Yes, sir.
Right. So if you observe this code, everything is similar except the data type, right? Does it appear that you are unnecessarily wasting time and code for writing this particular code? Right. Everything is same except that it is varying in the data type. So why you are repeating all these things? I write these 5 lines of code for adding 2 integer values. The same 5 lines of code I am going to make use of it for adding the 2 double variables, right? So is it not the redundancy you are getting? Redundancy means repetition. You are going to repeat the same code with some small modifications. So in this type of function overloading, the one disadvantage you may come across is the redundancy. That means the repetition of code. So in order to avoid such type of repetition, or in order to make use of the same code repeatedly, reusability of the code, we are going to implement a generic program. What do you mean by generic program? What do you understand by the term generic program? Generic means
Common program.
what do you mean by generic?
Same, sir.
Generic means in common, right? So these 2 functions are having the same code. So why should I waste my time and energy in writing the same code, or in repeating the same code line of instructions? So what the programmers or the experts has thought is, why there is repetition? Why is there any method to avoid this type of repetitions or not. Then they came up with one new programming concept which is called as generic programming. So generic programming means it is a general program, right? This time what they are going to do is they are going to pass the parameters as the data type. What is that they are going to pass? They are not going to pass the variables, or they are not going to pass the values. This time they are going to pass the data types for the functions as the parameters, right? So such type of programming is called as generic program. So you write only one code, and this particular code should be invoked for different parameters, for different data types and different parameters. So that concept we call it as the generic programming. Is it clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So we have discussed what a function is, how can we overload a function, and we have seen two examples regarding this function overloading and how it is going to activate or invoke a particular function based upon the inputs that is given by the user. All these things we have discussed, and finally we have discussed what is the disadvantage of this function overloading. Even though you are going to use the same name with different parameters and it is going to do the same task, there is a redundancy in your work. That means you are going to repeat the same set of instructions for performing the same task on integers, as well as the performing the same task on integers, as well as double, as well as characters, or whatever it may be, right? So the experts, what they have come up with this solution for this problem is to avoid the redundancy, or to make you reuse the code which is written for a particular task, is they thought of giving the data types as input parameters to the function. So once the function is allowed to accept the data types as the parameters, then it is very easy for the programmer to write a simple code, and then he can make use of the same code for different data types, right? So that concept which supports passing up of data types to the functions as the parameters is called as generic programming. So generic programming means general program. You write a general program and that will work for every data type you take. That is called as generic programming. And generic programming in C programming language is supported by the concept of templates, right? It is supported by which concept?
Template.
Templates. Late binding is
Templates,
supported by
sir.
which concept?
Virtual functions, sir.
Virtual functions. Early binding is supported by which concept?
Function overloading, operator overloading, and function overriding, sir.
Super, right? So the early binding is supported by function overloading, operator overloading, and as well as the function overriding. Here we have come across with one more new term. The generic programming in the object-oriented programming system is supported by the concept of templates, right? You might have heard this term in the real life also, right? You will be getting applications as the templates. For example, if you are applying for an university for MS admission, so you will get an application which is nothing but an application template. Am I right or not?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
first name is common for everyone, right? And they will leave some blank so that the person can fill it with his own data. Last name, similarly the person is going to fill it with his last name, and the date of birth, gender, address, everything will be kept as blanks, right? So that is a template that is available for everybody. So anybody can take the template and they can fill their own data such that the template becomes specific. So whatever template that is available for the application, or the application form that is available, is a generic one. It is available to everybody. But once you take it and you customize it to your requirements, or once you fill that application form, then it will become specific. So here we are not dealing with the specific programs, we are dealing with the generic programs, right? So once you take the generic program, you write it, and then you take it and you customize it to your own requirements. That means you apply the integer data type, or you apply it to double, or you apply it to characters. Anything you can make use of it. So then that program becomes specific. Do you understand the difference between the generic program and specific program?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now do you
Yes.
understand what this generic programming is?
Yes, sir.
Right. Last question I would like to ask you is, what for these generic programs is used? What is the purpose of generic programming?
To reduce redundancy.
Right, to reduce redundancy or to reuse the code. The main purpose is to reuse the code, right? And how can you implement this generic programming? Using templates. So how templates is going to solve this problem? Anybody please answer. So how templates is going to support the generic
Taking
programming?
data types as parameters. sir.
Super, right. The templates, they will accept the parameters as the data types, right? So that is how it is going to solve the problem of reducing the redundancy, right? So once we are clear about this, all these introductory concepts, we'll just go through the slides. So we'll come across all the terms which we have discussed in up to this point, right? So before going to the concept of generic programming with templates, as I told that we need to discuss something about the function overloading, right? A function overloading is nothing but the same function name can be used with different definitions. That means we have different definitions, but and also we can have different arguments also. The concept here you have to remember is the function name is same. Function name is same, but you can have different implementation, different number of arguments and different type of arguments, different return types. The only thing you have to concentrate here is you should keep the function name same. That's it, right? So this is an example of function overloading here. Here you can see that I have taken this int operate, which is accepting two integer values, int a comma int b, and here I am returning the multiplication of these two integer values. And similarly the same thing, the operate function I am taking. So this is an example of function overloading. Here I have taken two variables which belongs to double data type, and you can observe here that the operate function in the second function is returning a double data type, whereas the operate in the first function is returning integer. So here what I am doing is return of a cross a by b. That means I am returning the division value of a by b, right? See here, int main, and I have taken two values, integer values, and I have taken two double values. I am just calling the function with x comma y. Therefore 5 comma 2 is given, and it will return. Therefore which function is going to be invoked? Is it the first function or the second function?
First one, sir.
First one is going to be invoked. Therefore it will return
First
5 into
one,
2,
sir.
that is 10. So 10 will be printed. What about this one? This function is going to be invoked, is going to invoke the second function. Why? Because the parameters that is given to operate function is 5.0 and 2.0, which belongs to double data type. Therefore the second function is going to be invoked, and it is going to give the division of a by b. So 5 by 2 result will be printed, right? And the important point here you have to remember here is both the functions have the same name, both the function has the same number of parameters. Of course they differ in the return type and the data types of the parameters, but if we look at the behavior or the code for which we have given the for the body of these functions, the first function is giving the product of two numbers, whereas the second function is giving the division of two numbers, right? So this is not generally a good idea. As I told that once you give the name of the function, it should reflect what it is doing. And in the function overloading, you should remember that if you are going to make use of the operate for the multiplication of two integer values, you overload the function with the same function name, but that should perform the multiplication of two values which are of different data types. Multiplication is ethical, but once you are doing the multiplication in the second function with different parameters and different return types, you are changing the behavior of the function. This is not suggestible. I am not saying that this is wrong and this will raise errors. I am not going to say it, but there are some ethics to be followed by the programmers. Those ethics are when you are implementing the function overloading concept, the behavior of the program should be same in all the functions. Of course, there may be change in the number of parameters, there may be change in the type of parameters, and there may be change in the return type of the function, but the behavior should be same. It's not should, right? If it is same, then you are following the ethics. That is what I want to say. So is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Let us see another example, right? The same thing, I have taken the sum function with two parameters, both belong to the integer data type, and I am returning the addition of two integer values, and the same function name sum has been used with two input parameters which are of double data type, and I am returning the a plus b, that is the sum of two double values, right? So up to here we don't have any doubt. Now coming to the main function, I am calling the function sum with two values, that is 10 and 20. Since 10 and 20 are the integer data types, it is going to invoke the first function and it will return the value of 10 plus 20, therefore 30 will be printed here. And coming to the second function call, that is sum of 1.0 comma 1.5, it is going to invoke the second function. Why? Because 1.0 and 1.5 belongs to double data type, and it is going to invoke the second function and it is going to return the addition of 1.0 and 1.5, which is 2.5. And 2 points you have to remember here is sum is overloaded with different parameter types but with exact same body. Am I right or not? I am just using the same body, return of a plus b in the first function as well as return of a plus b in the second function also. They are having the same body. And the second point is the sum function could be overloaded for a lot of data types, and it could make sense for all of them to have the same body, right? For example, I want to implement another function like this: int sum of int a comma int b comma int c. Now I am returning the statement like this: return of a plus b plus c. Right. Here also the statement, the body of the function remains the same, even though we have three different parameters and three parameters that belongs to integer data type. Right. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
So the point what the expert
Yes,
the author is trying to tell is, here you are having the same function, same body of the function, but they have been implemented for the addition of different data types. Right. Now here comes the concept. Why templates? So for cases such as this, which are having the same body of the function but with different data types, C++ is having the ability to define the functions with generic types. This is known as the function templates. Right. So here comes the concept of generic programming. The C++ is allowing us to define a simple code or a generic program which accepts the data types as the parameters, and the user has reduced his work of redundancy or repeating the same set of instructions for different data types. Right. So this is the concept of generic programming. Right. So the same example he is taking with two different functions, that is square it is accepting one parameter, and it is going to print the square of a star a. Similarly, the same square function with same return type but with different parameters, which is accepting the double, it is also going to print the square of a is a star a. Everything is similar, right? So here it has one print statement, and in the first function also we have the similar type of cout statement. And here I am just calling the square of 9, therefore it will return 81. Here I am calling 2.25, therefore it will return 0.625, whatever it may be, right? Let us forget what is the result. So the point here you have to observe, why I am repeating all these things means the body of the functions remains the same in the function overloading, but it is only differing in the data type it is accepting, or it will only differ in the data type it is returning. So in such cases you can reduce your efforts of programming just by passing the parameters as the data types, just by passing the data types as the parameters. So while you pass the data types as parameters, that particular concept we are naming it as the generic programming. So this is all about the generic programming introduction, and what the generic programming is saying is the method of generic programming is implemented to increase the efficiency of the code, right? So generic programming enables the programmer to write a generalized algorithm. That's why we are calling it as generic program, right? So we are the programmer is able to write the general algorithm which will work for all the data types. Whatever data type you take, that will work for this generalized algorithm, right? And the main advantage of this generic programming is it eliminates the need to create different algorithms if the data type is an integer, string, or a character. So if you have different data types, there is no need to implement different algorithms. You take a generic algorithm and you make it applicable to all the data types. That is the main reason for implementing the generic programming, and simply we call it as generics. Instead of calling this entire generic programming, we can simply call it as generics. So how can you implement the generics in C++?
Parameters as data.
Templates, sure.
Right. The simple answer is templates. And how we are going to make use of this generic programming means we pass the data types as the parameters. That is supported by the templates concept. That's it. And these are the advantages of generic programming we have. Code reusability. So you write a generalized algorithm and you apply it to all the different data types. So you are going to make use or reuse the code which you have defined in the generic algorithm, right? And you can avoid function overloading. There is no concept of function overloading. Once you are done with this what is this thing called templates or the generic programming, you don't have the concept of function overloading. You don't have the burden of writing the same code again and again, right? So once written, it can be used for multiple times and in different cases. You can use any number of times, and you can use it for integers, or you can use it for floating points, or you can use it for double characters. Any type of data type you can make use of it. So these are the three important advantages of generic programming. One is the code reusability, and the second one is avoiding the function overloading, and the third one is you can write once and you can use multiple times and for different cases, right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So again the same concept, how we are going to implement this generics means generics can be implemented in C++ using the concept of templates. Very powerful concept in C++. Right. Of course every concept is a powerful concept. That is the reason why the object oriented programming system or the object oriented programming paradigm has a lot of benefits when compared to that of the POP, that is procedure oriented programming, right? It supports lot of features that are extensively useful for the development of the programs in the real world environment. So real world environments programs will be closely related to the object-oriented programming systems, right? So that is the advantage, and within this we have so many powerful tools like inheritance is a very powerful tool, and similarly overloading is a powerful tool, operator overloading is a very powerful tool, and abstract classes, virtual functions, everything what you take. And now we are with the new concept called as templates. Templates allow the programmers to write the generic programs, right? And the second point is template is a very simple and yet very powerful tool in C++. That is what I told, right? It's a very powerful tool, and actually in the real world implementation, or when you go to the real world industries, software industries, when you work for the industries, you are expected as a good programmer, you are expected to write the programs which are generalized in nature. They won't expect you to write the code in the specific nature, right? For example, have you gone through the bubble sort algorithm in the data structures concept?
Yes.
Right. So
Yes, sir.
in the bubble sort algorithm, you are writing the code for which data type? You are writing the code for integer or float? What type of
Integer,
data you are
sir.
going to sort?
Integer, sir.
Integer data, right? So if you want to implement the same bubble sort for the floating point, what you will do? You have to make some modifications inside the code, right? But if you are able to write a generic program for the bubble sort and you pass the parameter as the data type, you for example, if you pass the integer, that generic program will work for your integer data type. If you pass the floating point, that generic program will work for your floating point parameter. Like that, you are expected in the real world scenario, you are expected to write a generic program and you are expected to implement it for any different data types. So for generic programming, you need to know very well about this templates concept, right? So coming back to our concept, the third point is, it is a simple idea is to pass the data type as a parameter, so that we don't need to write the same code for different data types. Very simple concept, very simple idea. I just need to pass the data type, that's it. So whatever code I have written, whatever generic algorithm I have written, it will work for that particular data type without any errors, right? And the same example, the user needs sort for different data types. Rather than writing and maintaining the multiple codes, we can write only one sort, the generic sort, the generalized sort, and you pass the data type as the parameter. Then your work will be simplified. That is what you are expected in the real-time industries. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Right. So this is a programming example. We'll see how we are going to pass it, right? So we'll discuss with this programming example. See here. How many functions are there in my class demo?
2, sir.
2. Both are same. Both the bodies of the functions are similar, right? So I have an idea that I want to convert this program into a generic program, right? So I just want to remove this code. Are you able to understand, right?
Yes, sir.
And I just want to convert this single function into a generic function. So for that we have a concept called as templates. Generic programming is always supported by the templates concept, right? So I want to make this function as a generic program, or I want to make this function as a template. So what do you mean by template? You just make it make the parameters as the data types, that's it, right? So for this I have to convert this function into the template. So what I have to do is, for converting into template, the function definition should be preceded with one simple statement, that is it should start with the template keyword, right? And after that you start this angle brackets, and within the angle bracket you give it as type name. Type name is also a keyword, right? And after that you give some value or some name to this type name. Let me call it as T. You can give any name, it's not only T, you can give it as A, B, or your name is also acceptable, right? So this particular statement will tell the compiler that the succeeding function is a template function, right? What is that I have done here? Very simple thing I have done. One is I have started my template definition with the template keyword followed by angle brackets, and within the angle brackets I am giving the type name, where type name is a keyword, and the parameter. Am I right or not? Is it clear?
Clear, sir.
Right. What this type name means, it is nothing but it is going to accept the data type as the parameter. So whatever the user gives, it is going to check here and it is going to convert this T for this. Let us see. So, and I have to make modifications for this also. So instead of and tell me what is this T here? What is this T? Anybody please respond. Say yes or no, whether you know the answer or not.
No, sir.
Right. So what is this X?
Variable, sir.
Variable of type
Integer.
integer.
Int, sir.
Now tell me what is this T?
Variable, sir.
It is
For
considered
template.
to be the variable of type name, that's it, nothing more than that, right?
Okay, sir.
So the T is considered to be the variable of type name. So what is this type name here? It is a keyword which is going to accept the data whichever the user has given, right? So if I give the value as integer, so what happens to this type name? It will be converted into integer. So what happens to this T? So
Converted into X, comma 1.
so the T can be treated as an integer data type. Am I right or not? So instead
Yes,
of
sir.
this type
Yes,
name,
sir.
I can make use of this T. So I just convert this integer to T, and this int to T, and this int to T, and here also I am converting it to T, right? So if the user passes the integer value, the type name T becomes the integer. Therefore the function will be converted as int add of int x comma int y. Within the function of the body, within the body of the function, we have int z, z is equal to x plus y, and then we have return of z, right? For example, if the user has passed the double value, what happens to this T?
Double
Becomes
variable.
double, sir.
It is treated as a double. So what happens to this function? So the function is entirely converted into double of add of double x comma double y, and the body of the function is going to be converted as double of z, z is equal to x plus y, and return z. That's it. So how many functions you have written?
One, sir.
Only one function.
One function.
But is it going to work with the different data types or not? It is going to work with integer, it is going to work with the floating, or it is going to work with the double. So this is how the templates are reducing the efforts of the programmer. They are making the programs to be written in a easier fashion. Is it right or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So before compilation, how many functions are there? For example, let us take the entire program. So after writing this template function, so this particular function is called as a template function. That's it, nothing more than that. Right. So how many classes I have in this program?
One,
One
sir.
class. How many functions I have in this class?
One, sir.
One,
Only
sir.
one. How many function calls I have made in the main?
Two, sir.
Two, sir.
Two function calls. So before compilation, I have only one function inside the class, but after compilation, these two functions are invoked. Am I right or not? So
Yes,
it
yes,
will
sir.
have two different definitions. One definition is with respect to add of 10 comma 20, where it will be treated as an integer function, and the second function it is going to be created is with respect to the double values.
Double.
So after compilation, how many functions I will get?
Two, sir.
Two. One is with respect to integers and another one is with respect to double. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So did I get the output?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
See here, I got the same output. Let me execute once again. Let me change the values, then you will be clear. 10 comma 30 and let me take it as 44. Right. So let me execute it. You got the output right? 40 and
Yes,
68.466. So when you call the first function dobj.add of 10 comma 30, since you are passing the integer values as the parameters, that integer value is going to be taken by this type name. So t will be converted into int. So this function is converted into int of add of int x comma int y, int z, z is equal to x plus y, and return of z. And whenever you call this particular function, the same add function with the object dobj and with the input parameters as the double values, which is 23.234 and 45.232. So these values are going to convert this t as double. So this t is going to convert this entire function as double space add of double x comma double y double z, and z is equal to x plus y, return z. Right. The point here you have to remember is you are creating a simple single program which is generic in nature, but when you invoke that generic function with different parameters, different data types, it is going to create different functions with respect to each and every data type you are invoking that function. So before compilation, I have only one template function, but after compilation, since I have invoked this add function twice, once using this integers and the other time using this double, it is going to create two functions. One is with integers and another one is with double. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Right. So let us see the same thing he is using. Right. Here I have hash include iostream and using namespace std. Okay, and see here, every template definition should start with the keyword template, and after the template you have this angle brackets, and within the angle brackets you have to specify the keyword type name and followed by the variable. In general, it is our convention that we use t to represent it as templates, nothing more than that. Right. So we have another keyword, we can make use of it here. Other than this type name, we can also make use of class. Anything is okay, no, nothing is wrong. Right. Right. But this class is used whenever you are going to create a class template, and the type name is used to create the function template. That's it. But you can use these two terms interchangeably. No doubt the function templates can be created using class and type name, and similarly the class can be created with class also, right? So what is this function name I have here?
Type
My
max.
My max. And it is going to accept two parameters, one is x and y with this template t, and it is going to return the same data type. And what is that I am just stating here? Return of x greater than y question mark x colon y. What is this operator called as?
Ternary operator.
ternary
Ternary.
operator.
What is the other name for ternary operator?
Conditional operator.
Super, right. It is also called as conditional operator. So if x is greater than y, then x is returned, and if x is less than y, y is going to be returned. So coming to the main function, I am calling the main function. See here, this is how we can call the function. This is another syntax. So how I am going to call here? By making use of the function name mymax, and by making use of the parameter values 3, 7, and between this function name and the parameter list I have used one new syntax, which is int, right? You can observe here, which is specified inside the angle brackets, but this is not mandatory. Even if you don't give this angle brackets integer, it is going to consider this 3 and 7, and it is going to take what data type this 3 and 7 belongs to. Since 3 and 7 belongs to integer, it is going to invoke this t. So t becomes int. Therefore the entire function becomes int mymax of int x comma int y, right? So what is the value it is going to print here?
7, so
7. Now in the second statement I am again calling the mymax function with 3.0 and 7.0. That means these are treated as double, right? So this is also not mandatory. As I told that you can skip this, but by the compiler, by looking at this 3.0 and 7.0, it will treat it as the double data type, and here my t will become double now. So the entire function will be converted into double of mymax of double x comma double y. That's it. So what is the value it is going to be printed here?
7.0, sir.
7.0.
Now I am calling the same function mymax with two characters z comma e. Both are lowercase letters only. And as I told that this is also not mandatory. There is no need to specify the characters. Right. So by looking at these inputs, the z and e are the characters. Therefore this term is going to treat it as char. Therefore the entire function will be converted into char of mymax of char x comma char y. What is the output?
G, sir.
G, so
G. Right. So before compilation, how many functions I have?
3, sir.
1 function, so
Only one function, right? That is the template function, which is otherwise called as the generic function. But after compilation, how many functions are there?
3.
3. One is with respect to this integer, and another one is with respect to this double, and another one is with respect to this characters, right? So do I have the problem of repeating the same code again and again? I just made use of one template function. This is called as generic program, generic function. So I just used one generic function and I am using it for different data types. This is possible because you are passing the data type as the parameter to the function by making use of the template concept, right? If it is clear, we can go. Is it clear?
clear, so
Right. So this is end of today's session, and I hope you have understood the concepts well. And tomorrow class also we will continue with the same topic of the templates, where we will discuss the types of templates we have. We have only two types. One is the function template and the second one is the class templates. Function template is already cleared in this class. Right. We'll again go back through this function template and we'll discuss one example program, and then we'll go to the class template and we'll see some of the important points regarding this function templates and class templates, and then we'll discuss the overloading concept of templates. Right. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So shall we stop?
Yes, sir.
Shall we stop here?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So this is end of today's session. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.